If you're a piano student and you've ever wondered why it's important to practice things like scales, inversions, and arpeggios, or why you're going through a book like Hanon or Czerny that's specifically technical exercises that you won't ever really perform, you'll definitely want to keep watching, because I'm going to go through 3 of the benefits of using these types of exercises in your piano practice. Today we're covering the question, why do technical exercises matter, specifically when it comes to studying piano? So just to clarify, because technique can sometimes mean several things when it comes to piano, we're not talking about the actual execution of physically playing the instrument. Instead, we're covering those types of exercises I just mentioned, things like scales or like Hanon exercises. The first benefit I want to touch on today is that working on these types of things separately helps you build certain skill sets that you need to continue playing the instrument the best that you possibly can. Things like strength and stamina and flexibility. These are all key components to being able to play more and more advanced piano music, and in order to do them well, you definitely want to be building up these different areas. Technical exercises are a great way to do that. The second benefit has to do with data processing and pattern recognition. So much of music is mathematical. It's logical and sequential. It has rules and follows patterns. And if you don't know how to look for and recognize those patterns, you're at a major disadvantage. Just like it makes a difference when you understand the theory behind the songs that you're learning, it also matters if you can understand and recognize different patterns. Your life becomes a lot easier when you're trying to read a new passage in a song and you can say, oh, this is just a D major scale descending 1.5 octaves. Or that you can see that your left hand is going to be following a pattern of inversions using the primary chords in that key. Or being able to recognize when a pattern of arpeggios is just following a dominant tonic progression. Theory and technique go hand in hand, and so if you're going to be putting in the time to work separately on theory, it makes sense that you'd also put in the time to work separately on your technique. It's a lot easier to recall a large chunk of data than it is to recall a lot of individual pieces, even if it's the exact same amount of information. Your brain is able to store and then recall that information a lot more effectively when it's stored as a chunk, like a scale or an arpeggio, instead of a long string of information like D, C sharp, B, A, G, F sharp, E, etc. If you have a strong foundation in these sort of technical building blocks, your music is going to be that much more accessible and that much less frustrating to learn, master, and enjoy. The last benefit I want to go over today is that by practicing your technique separately, it gives you a unique space to work on building these skills outside of the context of a song. Especially as your music becomes more and more advanced, you're going to have a lot of other things to be focusing on rather than just the notes and rhythms on the page. Not only do those notes and rhythms become more complex, but you also have a lot more things to keep track of. Things like dynamics, which are going to be not just a simple loud versus soft, but a lot more dynamics and shading in between that you'll encounter through crescendos and diminuendos. You'll also have more articulations to keep track of, things like staccatos and fermatas and accents. Even more advanced is the complexity of nuance in your music. So for example, are you now having to focus on bringing out a melody over inner voicing? Or are you having to balance legato in one hand and staccato in the other? Or are you having to include a lot of rubato in a romantic era piece? By feeling confident with your ability to recognize technical patterns in your music, you're freeing up a lot of that brain space to not have to focus on the building blocks as much as all of those wonderful little details that take a song from being ink on a page to being music, something that's beautiful and alive and expressive. It can be so helpful to practice that technique in a separate space where you don't also have to worry about all of those other components that come along with learning a song. And that's it for today. Just 3 of the benefits that come from practicing your piano technique separately. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to practice your technical exercises this week, and I'll see you next time.